Welcome to Friday Takeaway. I'm Charlotte Chong, joined by Nadia Hassan. So Nadia, this week is actually quite a good week for Malaysia.
Yes.
Ringgit sustained below 4 against the greenback. Crude oil prices sustained above 40 US dollars a barrel as well this week.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, in a week where, in terms of corporate developments, it's almost zilch, right? Aside from very few announcements here and there, people need this happy external stuff. So it's no surprise that for today's closing, KLCI actually up about 4.2 points, which is 0.24% to 1728. On the week in general, also up 0.55% or 10 points. Given how bad it's been over the past couple of weeks, I think it's actually, I think we just be grateful for small miracles, to be honest.
So gainers were actually led by CIMB, YTL, MHB, down MYEG, Genting and MIC. Let's look at regional market. Regional sentiments looks tired, lackluster, but we still see some green in the market. Only China, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, they are down, but China GDP, they are quite strong. Came in about 6.7%. It hit the target of Chinese government.
So the funny thing about this is, right, it depends on who you're talking to. Because the numbers were announced this morning in Beijing. If you're on the optimistic side, you'd say like, holy cow, it wasn't that bad. It's still 6.7%. But if you want to be the pessimist, you want to talk about China and your faith has been turned, then you say, holy cow, it's only 6.7%. So, but the way the market's looking, it wasn't as bad, and like you said, it was within expectations.
Lackluster, I would say, but investors, they're adopting a wait-and-see attitude because of what's going to happen this weekend. OPEC and non-OPEC members are going to have a meeting to decide whether they are going to cap actually oil production.
Yeah, and because of that, you did see some of the Asian markets on a little bit on tenterhooks. Nikkei 225 down 0.37%. Hang Seng also down about 0.04%, all in anticipation. So the Doha meeting, it's going to be the big one. And here's the funny thing. You talk about mixed signals from China GDP. This one also has mixed signals for it as well. You have some oil producers saying, yes, we're taking steps. We are going to freeze output. We're going to control this. 40 seems to be okay. Then you have people like Russia, who's an oil producer, says, hang on, I don't think it's going to, we're going to take steps to measure or freeze. I wish they'd get their act together.
Even Iran, they say they are not going to participate in this meeting. Now, let's take a step back and look at China. Do you think 6.7% or 6.2%, this actually means that China has finally bottoming out?
I think they've been talking about that story for a while, to be really honest with you. They just don't want the hard crash. They've been high on Mother China's teats for a while, so then they just don't want that hard crash and they just want an easy win. I think oil will still continue to be the story next week if nothing else happens, if the world does not end. And
so what happened is actually China's came in at 6.7%. They think that property sector has finally rebounded, and that actually pushed up the GDP numbers.
Well, we'll talk about property in our respect in a little bit as well. But like I said, for Doha, I still think I come back to that mostly because I still wonder how it's going to be on Monday. But some of you wonder, right, now that oil's above 40, somebody suddenly got big cojones again and say that we can not take steps or whatever. Wait till it's 20, then you start to panic.
We'll talk about it next week again.
We'll see how it goes.
Let's move on to something sad this week. Now, Malaysia-Singapore Coffee Shop Proprietors Association, they say retailers lost about 500 million ringgit because of illicit cigarettes. Now, a lot of people, they turn into alternatives like vaping products when government increased the excise duty on cigarettes products.
Yeah, so here's the funny thing, right? The big producers, BAT, JTI, Philip Morris, look at this. They actually they issued a statement saying, you know what? We think this is the tipping point. We think we can't take any more. BAT has talked with their feet. They actually decided to close their operations here. So it's no surprise this whole 500 million because of illicit cigarettes. You'd think that for coffee shops it'd be food and drink, but apparently cigarettes make up a big part of the margin too.
So what happened was, after government placed a 40% excise increase in cigarette products, retail sales of legal cigarettes have dropped by 30%. As you can look at the graph now, illicit trade volume actually increased to 34.7% from 32.3% in 2014. It was as high as 38.9% in 2013.
You interviewed Bison, right?
Correct,
who just listed, of course.
Correct.
And they mentioned something like this too.
So what Managing Director Dang Tai Liu actually said was cigarette product, they actually garnered a very low margin, 8% to 9% low margin. That's why they are changing their product product mix. They're selling more food and beverage. They're selling less cigarette products.
Yeah. So the reason why, of course, it made us slightly sad was the fact that, okay, fine, smoking is bad, etc., etc. But changing to these alternatives that have neither either been proven, or if they're illicit cigarettes, right, you don't know what's in them. It could be newspaper instead of tobacco.
But newspaper itself is actually garnering very little margin as well.
No, as in like
5%.
instead of the tobacco, they have newspaper inside the cigarettes.
We wouldn't know.
Yeah, we wouldn't know. And that's the huge idea of the quality control. Never mind, you talk about BAT and all moving, investment moving out of Malaysia. That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and moving down to something happy, and we did talk about property, was that property slowdown. What property slowdown?
Now we are going to talk about three big major property development companies, EcoWorld Berhad, Masing, and also SP Setia. Now, EcoWorld Development, they talked about their target in Invest Malaysia KL a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And Managing Director CEO Chang Kim Hua actually said that they are eyeing 4.5 billion sales next year and 4 billion sales this year.
You're not surprised because they've said this number quite a bit, right? But are you surprised that with everything we talk about, rising prices, illicit cigarettes, blah, blah, they're still sticking to those targets, aren't they?
They are still very optimistic on the property sector, of course. Now, when we look at Masing, they're actually optimistic on property market as well. I talked to RJM, Dato Som Heng Chung, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And he said they are going to ramp up launches by the beginning of this year and also until the mid of this year.
SP Setia in general has also said they bought their fourth piece of land in Melbourne, Australia, and that property market is also going through some issues as well. So clearly, there's still bargains to be had. They still feel it's quite big. For me, property shows the health of the economy. If you look at this, it's very different from how people feel. So these guys are clearly smoking something that we're not.
But that's good for our country, isn't it? We have a lot of land.
Depends. I mean, depends on who you talk to, because can you afford property? Can we afford property?
Not yet.
Yeah, but at least there's options. And I think it says a lot when a developer is the one that people trust. I mean,
But again, like what IJM Dato Som say, that we have to look at how banks approve all these loans to people.
That's another thing we have to take account for. And of course, there's Switzerland, as we like to call it, which is basically very neutral. What was it this week?
This week, the Swiss actually say that they are going to widen scope of their inquiries on 1MDB, and they say they have also opened files on 2 former public officials from the United Arab of Emirates.
Yeah, but then Saudi Arabia Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir said, hang on, I did give it to him. We best buddies. You know, it's like, I don't know, there's so much conflicting statements. This story will just continue to unravel.
Like what you say, they say they are aware of the donation.
Yeah.
They are aware of where the $681 million to the Prime Minister's personal account.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see more of this because, and things that are happening next week. This one very interesting one. Upcoming match, Arul versus Tony Pua. You talk about Captain America Civil War. This is 1MDB Civil War, and the guys have had the weirdest statements to each other. Arul openly said he does not know if Tony Pua loves him or hates him, or Tony Pua falls in love with him.
Arul actually accepted Pua's challenge, and he said, "Bring it on."
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to see how that works out. I want to sell tickets.
So next week we are going to talk more about key meetings from OPEC and non-OPEC members. Other than that, we are looking at inflation numbers on Wednesday, Maxis first quarter numbers, DG first quarter numbers as well.
They will be very interesting to see, considering how much hate that's been going around with the telcos. It won't affect them this quarter, but I'm really curious to see.
Next quarter,
exactly. Yes. And we are on the cusp of earnings season again. Finally, no more dry days. That I'm grateful for.
Okay, that's all we have today. For more, visit www.thedgemarkets.com. I'm Charlotte Chong, joined by Nadia Hassan. Thank you very much for watching.